Well, first of all, we were there covering the game, which was awesome to be back in the Coliseum. And then, for me personally, just the history of USC-Texas. And a lot of people were kind of reliving the matchup that we had with them in the 06 Rose Bowl, even though it was, 10, 11 years later. The Coliseum over the last couple of years, they were struggling to get, 100,000 people in the stadium or 90,000 people in the stadium. And I just remember anytime you have a game like that with two just big time national brands and programs, and then you have arguably the greatest game ever played in that Rose Bowl game when Texas won, it just added to really that week and what that game meant. And then you had, Sam Darnold, who's going to go on and be a top NFL pick. Sam Ehlinger was in that game as a freshman. And we know the career he's had so far. It was electric in there. It was awesome. It's just not every day Texas comes to USC and comes to the Coliseum, and it was a special day there. I actually believe that was the game that I got inducted into the Hall of Fame. One of the last conversations I had with my mom where she was able to speak coherently and listen was like, "Hey mom, I got inducted in the College Football Hall of Fame." I got a notice, I think in end of December, and she was already in the hospital, but and she was just so proud of me. So that's why, and then you fast forward and just to be there, with my dad, and Josie and Cole and my brother and my nephew, my sister-in-law, that was a really big moment for us, because my mom loved SC. She went to every game. It was a really special time in all of our lives, my college experience. I just remember Vince coming over and saying congrats. And, we've been tight and boys really ever since college. Anytime I see Vince Young, it brings back terrible memories. Like I can't escape it. I see him when OU-Texas plays and we go out there and cover that game. I see him all the time, and all the time I see him, every time it's always just like, what would have happened if we would have beat you? How would have, our careers change? How would, the USC Tech, the stories change? It's just, you always go back to that. It turned from just frustration and emotions and being upset that we lost to really embracing a fact that we were part, in my opinion, of the greatest college football game I think that's been played for a lot of reasons, and a lot of reasons my own. Vince is a good friend. He's always been just a loyal friend and a great dude, and I really value our friendship. Sam Ehlinger, this was, I don't want to say even a coming out party, because I think people were kind of like, okay, he's a freshman. But for me, it was just like, you're a freshman, you're on the road in a pretty hostile environment, a big game, a big national game against USC. And the moment was just never too big for him. He had a couple interceptions in that game. He made some mistakes in that game, but he was, and that's when you found out just what a fierce competitor he was, just a really talented football player. He was. And now when you look at his career he's had, you saw it. Like I saw it then. I'm like, this kid's going to be special. Like, he's tough. He's a grinder. He's physical. He's not afraid of the big moment. He's just got those special factors that you want. And I saw that in that game. And I think a lot of people saw that in the game. Like, hey, like Texas was saying, like, hey, we got a quarterback now for the next couple of years that is going to win us a lot of football games. I don't remember, a lot of plays from that game. It was clearly just, it was back and forth. But the one play that really stood out for me was Sam Darnold's pass to Stephen Carr out of the backfield on the game's final drive in regulation.
Darnold in trouble. Darnold jump pass. Carr down at the 30. They're in range for a field goal.
What makes Sam Darnold so great was always and still is his ability just to improvise and almost like backyard football. One, it lit up the Coliseum, and two, it finally put them in just a position to where, okay, now we have some time. We can maybe take some shots down the field, but we can also kick a field goal to send this into overtime. To me, that was just like Sam Darnold at his finest. That's what made him and makes him such a special player. It's his just ability to make a play when they need it the most. overtime happens, and clearly this was a great game. It was a great finish in regulation, and I'm sitting there, and we're right in the end zone, and we're watching because we're at any point about to go on air once the game's over with. And I think I'm looking away or looking down, and all of a sudden I look back to the play, and it's just Sam Darnold throwing this post route over the middle.
Fires deep, touchdown!
And I didn't see the snap, so I'm coming back to look, and the ball is like already in the air to Deontay Burnett, and I'm just sitting there right there, and he kind of runs to me, and it was like a double took. Like he ran, he looked at me, he kept going, and then he looked back, and he came over, and he stuck out his hand, and it was like one of those things where I shook his hand. It was just one of those things. I didn't want to be a homer. Obviously, I'm a Trojan there, but it was something that was so cool, kind of in the heat of the moment. Just like things happen, and he was fired up, and it was such a big time play, a big time moment of the game, and it was cool just to be front row seat for that.
Freshman, walk-on, Chase McGrath from 43 yards away. Clean snap, good hold, ball game.
Football's a game of emotions. There's so many plays, and that play, it just sent the Coliseum in a roar. That's why I love college football so much, because it's just the genuine reaction of the fans, the emotion of the game, the amount of, like we always say blood, sweat, and tears, but like the blood, sweat, and tears that fans, they throw their emotions into these football games, and you see it. And it was cool. It was just it was a great day for USC football. That was a big game from them. And, in the big picture of things, it was another football game, but playing Texas and going back to that Rose Bowl in 06 and now getting to host Texas at home, that game was very important for USC football.
Another classic between these two legendary programs.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoy that clip, make sure you click subscribe somewhere down here. From game highlights to exclusive interviews and rankings, we've got everything you need as a college football fan right here. College Football on Fox.